Our Jewish values of justice and human dignity compel us to join in this call for substantial change. Leviticus teaches us that we cannot stand idly by when the blood of our neighbors is being spilled. Our Jewish obligation to engage in pikuach nefesh, in saving lives, compels us to work together to ensure the safety, justice, and dignity of our fellow men and women. And perhaps the core lesson of Torah, that every human being is created b'tselem Elohim, in the image of God, obligates us to build a society that treats everyone as a vessel of the divine.
There's a reason that, I feel it's important that the church understands the truth, because in America, we have a problem with truth. We want reconciliation without truth, and we want these kumbaya moments, but it's usually getting the minority group to capitulate to the narrative that they want to perpetrate, which is essentially a narrative that they find palatable, because if they were to speak the truth, then it would be an indictment on the church, which supported racism. We have to confront it with truth, and that means we need to come together and speak in each other's pulpits and understand that there is a truth, and the truth will set us free.
I'm a fifth generation minister in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. African Methodist Episcopal Church established in 1787 in Philadelphia, which was really the first nonviolent direct action movement to take place in America. And as you look over the trajectory of history, every time you see dramatic advancement for the progress of Black people and of all people in America, you see the AME Church, from the establishment of the first historically Black college in America. Wilberforce College is one of our churches, one of our church's schools. Paul Quinn College, of which my great-great-great-grandfather, Reverend William Leake, was one of 4 founders. The oldest historically Black college west of the Mississippi is connected to the AME Church, all the way up until the Civil Rights Movement and through the Civil Rights Movement. And so it's a part of our DNA to be a part of a liberatory theology that seeks to liberate all who are oppressed. We've been active again in providing space and attempting to provide voice to really oppose the forces of white supremacy that are still very active within our nation, and really active, truthfully, in the city of Dallas.
What we have is a responsibility as church leaders, as faith leaders, members of the clergy, that we must be the conscience of America.
Working as a prison chaplain drove me into criminal justice reform. How we're treating those who we're incarcerating is beyond incredible, and on every level, and a reason where we bring our faith to the table in areas like this.
It's impossible, particularly for the Black church, to be engaged in faith without politics, because our very bodies have been politicized. It's impossible, particularly if you operate in a place of faith that ministers to Black and brown and indigenous people, to do so faithfully without also addressing the ways in which our bodies have been politicized and the harm that has come based on those realities, and how this continues to cycle itself back over and over again over many generations, from mass incarceration to the defunding of our public spaces, our public schools. All those things have a racialized tint, and to eradicate them, you first must have an awareness of those realities.
When the Africans were enslaved here in America and working in the fields, the cotton fields and tobacco fields, they sung spirituals. Those spirituals are begging God to deliver them. And that deliverance wasn't just to the next world from the sins of this world, it was deliverance from white supremacy. That was that unique orientation. It still exists today. Deliverance from white supremacy, demolish white supremacy. That unique orientation that we have as a people have produced individuals like Dr. King, John Lewis, El-Hajj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Imam Wardi Muhammad, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Denmark Vesey, David Walker, has produced those people. And those people have had a profound effect, not just politically in America, profound effect religiously, socially.
Dr. King said it best that, the true measure of a person, if you will, is not where they stand in times of comfort and convenience, but of challenge and controversy. That has always been the measure of our greater selves, our collaborative and communal response, that issues that impact, quote unquote, the Black community do not just impact the Black community, they impact us all. That anywhere there is suffering, we are called to be a part of the alleviation of that suffering and to provide a healing and restoration. And thankfully, as we study history, particularly American history, some of the great penultimate moments of progress in our nation have been multi-faith. One way in which we are a good ally is we investigate our own prejudices and biases before we enter into the space. There is such a thing as white supremacy. There's also such a thing as white liberal patriarchy, right? This idea that we know better than you.
Sometimes I think we are at sort of a twilight moment, because it's not night and it's not early in the day. We're just right there in the middle. And on the horizon is all of this hope and optimism, and on, just where we are, if we do nothing, if we compromise, if we act in our fear and we don't have the courage to really do what's right in coming together, regardless of faith, then we will be doomed. Our next generation will repeat what we have done. And so, it is really a matter of recognizing truth. Often politicians and preachers alike will cite the I Have a Dream speech. But we don't really understand the real gravity of that speech in talking about the ills and sins of this nation. There's one part that he says, and he repeats this, so he was trying to emphasize it. He says, there are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as a Negro is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of police brutality. That was 1963. We're still here today. Until all of us come together, Jews, Gentiles, until we all come together as Protestants and believers, we will not see change. Because this change will cause for all of us to have to get out of our comfort zone.
I believe that God is embedded in our faith, whether you're a Jewish person or Muslim or Christian. Our faith is embedded with bridges to the other person that may not be like us in terms of ethnicity, in terms of religion, in terms of race. I think we all need to take advantage of those bridges that already exist. Example, in our religion, our Quran, God said he created us male and female. Then he said he created us different ethnicities, different races, different tribes, in order that we may know each other. So we can know each other. So we can dispel ignorance. Unity is not synonymous with uniformity. You can be different and work with people. Unity means differences come together, different elements, differences come together.
I want to say that the most repeated commandment in the Torah is a commandment to remember. And that has been our greatest failure, is that we fail to remember our history. Most folk don't understand the Heschel-King connection. They don't understand how deep it goes, the commitment to mutual liberation. And so even to make reference to that is to provide an educational moment for people to understand that we have a history that has gone on for generations, that it's the sacred texts of the Jewish people that provide inspiration for Black slaves seeking their own liberation, the stories of Exodus from Egypt that provide the initial strength and stories to our people as we were likewise seeking liberation. When you cross over the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma and you make it to the other side, there is a stone which is etched upon it the words of Scripture, that there will come a time when your children will ask, what do these stones mean? And you must testify to them how we made it over, which symbolizes that story and its significance in our struggle for progress. For as John Lewis said, we have one more bridge to cross. And indeed, there's still work for us to do to make this world a place of diversity, equality, and equity.